Hey, Tilcon, New York. Hope you had a good weekend. Well, this is video number 16. We've been doing a lot of these. But anyway, I really enjoy doing them, and I want to personally thank my videographer for all the hard work that she's done over these past 16 weeks and being very patient with me as we've gone through that. I mean, that's what teamwork is all about. Hey, this week, before I get into the second half of our EHSS management system, is that we had a work zone intrusion over on Palisade Interstate Parkway on, I believe, Thursday night into Friday morning. And, we were very lucky as an organization. We had a couple employees, one person that was in the crash truck, which the vehicle ran into, received some minor injuries. We're dealing with that. But we were very lucky, and our safety procedures actually prevented something from even happening greater. The individual that ran into the back of the crash truck in the hot zone was intoxicated. And then this person, instead of sticking around, got up and ran across the other side of the highway and ran into the woods. What I call that is a coward, in all seriousness. I mean, so, the police will take care of that, and we'll find the perpetrator, and they'll be dealt with accordingly. But it's scary. It's a scary situation when we're out on the roadways, especially on the highways, especially at night. So our safety protocols worked, and it could have been something a lot more deadlier. So, okay. The other thing is that hearing conservation, hearing protection is part of the monthly safety meeting this month. So your frontline supervisors, your managers will be going over that with you. And with that in mind, we have the mobile hearing units coming through the facility. So you'll see them doing the annual hearing checks. So that's happening throughout this month as well. I can't stress enough, still talking about the risk assessments and the hazard recs, making sure we put them in. And then just to give you a heads up that my wife and I are leaving on vacation next Saturday. So kind of sketchy about a video next week, but we'll see. Okay? All right. So this is actually part 2 of the environmental health and safety management system that we have in place. It has been loaded on the SharePoint on the CRH page, so you can go onto there and you could take a look at the written program. You could also take a look at the EHSS responsibilities for each level of the organization. So let's get to it. So the 5th element in our program is life safety procedures, or life-saving procedures, if you will. So here we're talking about hot work permits, confined space entry permits and programs, lockout, tag out, try out, or like I like to call it, lock, tag, and try, making sure we de-energize a piece of equipment and making sure we lock it out so nobody can get hurt. Working at heights, fall protection, that kind of stuff. I mean, that's one of them. Personal protective equipment. Now, in one of my videos previously, we talked about personal protective equipment that we're required to wear working throughout the sites. Lifting and rigging. We do a lot of lifting and rigging throughout the facilities. And then housekeeping. Whether your facility has, 5S in place or not, housekeeping is really, really an important part of our work facilities. The EHSS policies and procedures that we have as Tilcon New York, we're going to start downloading them onto the SharePoint page so everybody has an opportunity to see them. And then finally, dealing with the policies and procedures with contractors and haulers. We're in the process now. Alice just revised a protocol with regards to dealing with third-party contractors and bringing them on site. And I'm in right now just reviewing that process, and then we'll be rolling that out. The next element talks about incident reporting, analysis, and record. I've always highlighted to all of you, we talked about it at the refreshers and throughout, that good investigations are really about fact-finding and not fault-finding. It's not pointing the finger at anybody. We want you as employees to come forward when we do have an incident. That's really important. So to us, that's an opportunity for improvement. That's an opportunity for us to, take something that may have been a negative or may have been something that we failed to recognize and to do something about it before it turns into something a lot worse. And the reporting, we're starting to be trending. So you're going to see, I just put out, trending statistics to all the managers and supervisors late last week. I want them to share them with you to see where we're at and what kind of trends we're seeing. Time of day, day of week. I mean, that's important for us to kind of try to proactively take a look at these undesired events, if you will. Where do we want our process to be? Well, we want to be on proactive rather than reactive. There's some ways that we go about in investigating. 5 whys, very simple. If you have kids, you understand the word why. Why? Well, it's basically the same concept that we take a look at an incident. Why did this happen? We write down the answer. Why did that happen? Write down the answer. Why? 5 whys, usually you can basically do an investigation on just about any incident with just going through 5 whys. Sometimes a little less, sometimes a little more. And then how we communicate these incidents is important. EHS monthly, safety briefs, some safety alerts. I mean, it's really important that we kind of go through that so everybody knows what the incidents are that we're having throughout the organization. One of the things that I just want to just kind of show you, and just to see, this is the pyramid, if you will. Okay, well, it's an iceberg, but it used to be a pyramid. Okay, so what it is really talking about lagging indicators and then leading indicators. So you have a major type of incident, MSHA, OSHA, recordable or reportable type of incident. You have minor incidents, kissing a Band-Aid, if you will, and then near-miss reporting. Now, back in the 1930s, a guy named Heinrich actually put together this 1 major equals 29 minor equals 300 basically near misses. There's an X to that, like a 300X, which talks about like observations, hazard recognitions. And why do we want all that? So if you go 300X, I mean, it could be like 30,000 observations could really lead to 1 major type of incident, 1 major, whether it's a OSHA recordable, some kind of EPA event, some kind of something that happens out on the roadway. So those are things that we want to try and stay away from. So these are the things down here underneath the iceberg, if you will, that are things that we want to try and work towards so we don't have these things happening. Employee training events, job safety analysis, risk assessments, hazard recognitions or observations. I mean, those are really important for us to do a good job here so it never climbs up the ladder per se. Okay? So that's where we're at, and that's what we're working towards as a company. We're not just doing this alone. So with that being said, our next element is emergency preparedness and response. Now, when I was in the chemical industry, this was really a big thing because we had, and I have on here, spills and thrills, if you will. If we spilled organic chemicals and we spilled obviously corrosive materials, it can be pretty dangerous to the health and welfare of the employees, the community, and even the environment. So it's important that we have written emergency plans for our facilities, basically what we need to do. I used to call this, the simple ones we used to call with regards to evacuation drills, ring the bell, run like hell. Okay, so that was something we used to very simply, put into our program. So that was a very, very easy to do with regards to emergency response. But there's other things that we have on our facilities. If we go into permanent confined spaces, we're required to have a rescue team available in order to pull somebody out. So we have to do confined space rescue. Now, I don't advise that we do that or our Metro Division brethren, do that with regards to internal, because there's a lot that goes on with regards to that. But you just can't put on your confined space entry permit, call 911. You have to be able to have them come in and drill at your locations or do a scenario, or they have to be able to, show up at your facility within a prescribed period of time. Working at heights rescue. I mean, that's another thing that if somebody's going up in a man basket, okay, and they have fall protection, and God forbid they fall out of that and they're hanging up there, we're required to have a rescue plan in place as to how to get them down. I've seen it where the man lifts don't come down, the mechanism breaks or gets stuck, and now that person's hanging up there. And about 15 to 20 minutes is all somebody could really handle hanging in that fall protection equipment. We need to maintain that emergency response equipment. I see a lot of, we have these big 90-gallon, drums sitting around that we put in there, and that they're filled with emergency response equipment. Making sure that we cover storm drains in case we do have a spill and it doesn't get out to the waterways. First aid, CPR, AEDs, bloodborne pathogens, those are the training that we do on an annual basis. And then how do we deal with the outside agencies? Fire, police, ambulance, it's making sure that we have good relationships with them. Even inviting the fire departments onto our sites to see what they would have to deal with in the event of a fire. It may cost us a couple of pizzas, but hey, who doesn't like pizza, especially Jersey pizza? But employee involvement and expectations. Now, in the OSHA and MSHA regulations, it requires that employers are responsible to provide safe working conditions for their employees. All right, that's important. But it also requires, as part of that same minors' rights and the OSHA General Duty Clause, that employees have the responsibility to work safely and follow all the safety procedures established by the employer. So it's really a two-way street that we work together in unison in order to make our working environments as safe as possible. So we ask you, the employees, to follow all safe work practices and procedures. Please don't take any shortcuts, because that's only going to get yourself potentially in a risky situation. Please report all incidents to your supervisor. Please let them know that something has happened. And you need to do that. We're not going to, it's terrible when somebody reports something 3 days after something's happened, or they go off for a long weekend, if you will, and next thing you know, they're reporting something 4 days later. So please make sure you report all incidents, near misses, hazard wrecks. Make sure you report that all to your supervisor as soon as physically possible. Participate in your pre-shift, your toolbox talks, your safety meetings. You have a lot to bring to the table as employees. You guys do the jobs each and every day out in the field, on the construction sites, and the asphalt plants. You guys know the job sites better than anybody. So please, I want to tap into that. The company wants to tap into your experience as well. Good housekeeping performance. I can't tell you how many incidents have really, when they come back and do a root cause analysis, really come back to poor housekeeping. So please, we're not asking you to clean up your room like your mom, but please make sure you clean up after yourself. If you do a job and you change out some belts, or you change out couplings, pick them up and throw them away. Don't leave dirty PPE around either. Just throw it out. Just make sure you keep your workplace clean. Report workplace hazards, hazard recognitions. We've been doing a good job with that. Remember, quality hazard recognitions, not quantity. I don't need to see a big stack of them this high. I'd need to see a stack this high of really good quality hazard recognitions that we could do something about. When we start back up with regards to our safety committees, participate, please. Be on the proactive side with us, and then submit safety suggestions, recommendations. We're always open to your recommendations with regards to safety. And then, as I mentioned back during the refresher, there are barriers to safe work. In these troubled times that we're going through, we've been pretty fortunate as an organization from that aspect. But, people have things like severe fatigue. Hopefully not alcohol or drug use, but it happens. Intense, prolonged stress, and then obviously long-term illnesses. So those are the type of things that, I mentioned last week about the Employee Assistance Program. Or a couple weeks ago, I have to say we had one minor thing that I found out is that the unions actually have their own employee assistance programs. So I asked Ann or HR to get me those other numbers, and I'll provide them with you for you. So for CRH or Tilcon CRH new employees, you'll have that number, the 888 number that I showed you a couple of weeks ago. And then for the union employees, based on 825, 471, and the other unions, you have your own EAP programs. But those numbers should be provided to you as well. And then the last thing with the indirect causes is that, there's workplace stressors, there's individual stresses. We all have families, okay? Things go awry sometimes, at the home, financial, kids, things that are just stressful enough. So it's hard not to bring those individual stresses with us to work. And it's hard not to take workplace stresses home with us. I mean, if we could do that, that's wonderful, but we're human. Everybody is human with regards to that, and it's how you deal with those stresses. So please reach out to somebody. If you gotta, talk to a friend, a pastor, somebody that you feel comfortable with and talking to, and at the very least, reach out to your employee assistance program and trying to deal with these stressors. And then, to me, safety boils down to ABC. It's a pretty simple concept. A is for attitude. We all have an attitude. Some of us have a tougher attitude than others. But some people sometimes use an attitude to get themselves in trouble. Oh, bad hair day. Oh, I woke up on the wrong side of the bed. I mean, whatever cliche you like to use. But it's our attitude that affects the behavior that we have. Think about if we drive on the highways and byways, okay, wherever you are, and somebody cuts you off, and then you're getting all upset. That behavior, okay, or that attitude that you're taking out on the roadway now changes your behavior. Now you come into work and you're getting into a haul truck, or you're going out on a construction site. Your mind's not there. So your attitude really can affect your behavior. And then finally, the C is commitment. I ask all of you to be committed, not committed to Bellevue or any place like that, but be committed to the safety process. I mean, you are the most important person to yourself and then to your family and to us. Because we are Tilcon, New York, and we're a family. And having a good attitude, behaving in the right manner possible, and always being committed to the safety process will get us to be successful in everything that we do. Tilcon, New York, have a safe week and enjoy. Thank you.